Australia's most successful Olympian ever is on the podcast today, Kylie. Why? Well, because there is a sweet spot between encouraging our kids towards excellence and pressuring them to perform. Today on the pod, we're going to show you exactly where that line is and how to stay on the right side of it with that Olympian's help. Plus, when your child is feeling anxious about performing, whether it's on the sporting field or in an exam or on stage, we're going to share a powerful reframe that can turn that nervous energy into their secret weapon. Welcome to the Happy Families Podcast, real parenting solutions every day on Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. We are Justin and Kylie Coulson. We're the parents of 6 daughters. I've got a PhD in psychology to help you along. I recently spoke with Australia's most decorated Olympian, Emma McKeon.
What a swim by Australia's golden girl. McKeon with a blistering final leg.
With an extraordinary 14 Olympic medals, including 6 golds, Emma recently announced her retirement after competing in 3 Olympic Games, Rio, Tokyo and Paris. And Kylie, she missed London in 2012 by 1/10 of a second.
That's intense.
She's dominated the pool for over a decade. And today on the Happy Families podcast, she's sharing insights into how her parents helped her to achieve at the highest level while keeping her love for the sport alive. Yep, she's one of those athletes who still does the athletic thing even though she's retired. She still swims. On Saturday, by the way, we're going to replay my full conversation with Emma so you can hear everything she said. But today, we're focusing on the key points that every parent needs to know about helping their kids to achieve their potential without the pressure that can push them away from what they love. Kylie, Emma's insights about the way that her own parents approached her sport are just fascinating, especially given that her father, Ron, was a Commonwealth swimmer. He was an accomplished swimmer, won medals at the Commonwealth Games, and he was also her coach. So many parents struggle with knowing how much to push and when to pull back with their kids, especially when it comes to sport. Here's what she said to me when I asked her, how did your parents get this balance right?
I think it was definitely the balance. It was like not pushing me to do a certain thing and not pushing me to achieve a certain level or anything like that. It was purely about enjoyment, especially from that young age, because I think they knew that if there's something that I love and that I enjoy and it's coming from me, then that means the longer that I'll be doing it for. And for them, like they wanted me to learn how to swim from a young age, and then it was all kind of directed by me and they encouraged that. But it's that fine balance, and then also having the balance then allowed me to be self-determined and have the, self-want to set goals and move ahead and things like that.
Kylie, there's some great wisdom here. What stood out to you?
It got me thinking about our kids and the things that they've achieved. We've obviously got no Olympians in our home.
No.
But we have children who have great loves.
To my great disappointment, we haven't had an Olympian yet. Out of 6 kids, can you believe it?
Well, funnily enough, our kids actually swam in the McKeon's pool.
Yeah, we knew that. Well, we didn't know Emma, but we certainly knew her parents because we were one of their best customers. I don't know how many kids we had in that pool at any one time, but it was expensive.
But I was thinking about Annie, our 17-year-old. She absolutely showed an interest and desire to play the piano from a very young age. So from about 3, I decided that it might be a good idea to actually get her started. We found a teacher who taught the Suzuki method, which meant that she didn't need to know how to read music. She could just learn by ear. And she loved it. But after a few months of being there, I just was really concerned about how formalized her teacher was in her teaching methods and her desire that my 3-year-old was going to practice her piano every day for at least 20 to 30 minutes.
I remember. It was intense.
It was very intense. And each week we would go and I would feel like I was being sent to the principal's office because she'd give me a serve because she could tell that Annie had not sat at the piano enough during the week.
Yep. And so we started cracking the whip and we said, you are going to be a Carnegie Hall pianist.
We did not.
No, we did not.
I pulled the plug and she didn't play. But by the time she was probably about 6 when she started asking again. But it wasn't until she was nearly 8 that we kind of looked at it and decided that we would allow her to go back to lessons.
Yeah, it's worth the spend. Let's give it another go.
We found another teacher.
Definitely.
And we started the process again. And at no point have we ever told Annie that she has to
We don't even tell her to practice.
For a certain amount of time. So some days she doesn't touch the piano at all.
Some weeks she doesn't touch the piano at all.
But her love for it has continued to grow to the point now that after many years of lessons, she came to us and she said, look, I actually don't think I need a teacher anymore. I know what I need to do. It's just about practicing. I don't want to be a concert pianist, but I do want to continue loving to play. Now we have the joy of listening to a daughter who can play at a grade 6 level and accompany her sister who loves musical theatre no end.
Yeah, we've got the Wicked sound. Well, it's not the Wicked soundtrack. It's live. She's playing it on the piano and the kids walk around the house and sing Defying Gravity and all that sort of stuff.
And it's delightful. Is she playing at Carnegie Hall? No. But in our lounge room, she gets to be...
She's a rock star.
A rock star.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's amazing.
I did some quick maths, by the way, and a little bit of Googling while you were sharing that story. The Australian Olympic team usually has between 400 and 500 athletes per Olympic Games. With Australia's population at about 26 million, this means that roughly 0.002% of Australians represent their country at each Olympics. It's even lower for the Winter Olympics, obviously, with Australia, which helps to explain why, with 6 daughters, we still don't have an Olympian.
It was really never an option, was it?
I don't think so with our kids. No.
It's funny. When it comes to the pool or any sporting field, our kids don't have a competitive bone in their bodies, but put them in front of each other at the table to play,
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
But I digress. What was your biggest take out of Emma's words?
Yeah, so the words she said, and I quote, allowing me to be self-determined. So when I run my workshops, when I write my books, when we do this podcast, I talk a lot about this thing called the 3 E's of effective discipline. That is that we need to explore, explain, and empower. And whether we're talking about discipline in the pool or discipline with a musical instrument or discipline with study, it doesn't really matter what it is. This idea of the 3 E's of effective discipline isn't so much about getting the kids to be nice to their siblings, although the strategy works there. The key word is discipline, and discipline is about, well, we use the word discipline to describe somebody who's good at their quote-unquote discipline. So Emma has chosen this discipline, and she's done it freely, in the same way that you described our daughter choosing the piano freely. When our kids step in and pursue a hobby or a sport or something that matters to them in a self-determined way, they do it. It's literally us saying, I'm not giving you carte blanche. It's not total freedom. It's not full independence. Rather, it's me saying to my child, I want to help you to make wise decisions. What decisions are you thinking about making? Now, let's unpack that. Does that work? Does it not work? What's good about it? What's not good about it? How can we support you in making the decisions that are going to be best for your life? And what I'm really hearing in Emma's conversation, especially in the broader conversation that we'll play in full on Saturday, is parents who said, you love swimming. We want to support you with it if that's what you want to keep doing. But Emma, it is up to you. And we can give you all the support you need if that's what you want to do. That's what she did. And I love the way she describes it. I love those words, allowing me to be self-determined. I guess the other thing that I would say is when I think about how we get this balance right, how we can be encouraging but not push too hard, is we've got to create some distance here and recognize it's not my life. This is their life. And if we've got a daughter who doesn't want to be a rock star or a concert pianist, but really loves to be able to sit down at the piano and play music and just love music, that's the choice that she's made. And it's true that maybe one day, not that I have this aspiration for her, but if I did, it's true that maybe one day she and I will look back and regret that she never made it to fulfill her potential, quote unquote. But that's okay. It's her life.
But her life's not over either.
And life is long.
We're making a decision based on the fact that it can never happen.
Like a 16 or a 17-year-old, oh my goodness, that's it. And I'll also add this. There are loads and loads and loads and loads of fully functional, wonderful people who quit music or who quit sport and have still gone on to live good lives and even achieve and accomplish in other areas in their lives. So I just think we push too hard and put too much pressure on our kids in too many cases. And Emma's example is a wonderful illustration of how we can get that balance right.
I think one of the most important things to remember is it's not our life. It's actually our kids. And I felt as a 3-year-old, Annie's piano teacher forgot that. I think she decided that it was her life and this was how Annie was going to be.
I'm on a mission to make you
That's
perfect.
right. And I know from time to time it crushes you as a parent. It crushes us when we see our kids could actually be really good at something.
Especially when you've invested in it with them and for them as well.
But they choose to let it go. But I think too, it's important for us to remember that their life's not over just because they decide at the age of 7 that they don't ever want to play the piano again.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that at some point they can't pick it up. Are they going to be an Olympian or, play at Carnegie Hall as a 25-year-old? I don't know, but does it matter?
No.
The important thing is that they're doing things that bring them joy and light them up.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of very, very functional, wonderful people in the world who have quit sport or who have quit music or quit that thing that their parents were making them do.
And still live amazing lives.
Yeah.
After
the break, managing anxiety and nerves. How do the lessons from our most successful Olympian in Australian history help our kids when they're feeling worried? Okay, Kylie, I asked Emma McKeon, Australia's most decorated Olympian ever, about something that every parent has probably witnessed, even with the most confident of kids, pre-competition nerves. I get the sense that you would have been a nervous speaker, a nervous singer, a nervous performer. Have I got that right?
I still am. What do you mean was?
just got the feeling. Anyway, I was asking her about whether those nerves were different when she was a kid versus being at the global stage, right? The Olympic Games or the World Championships or anything. Because whether it's sport or whether it's music performances or school presentations or whatever it is, our kids are going to face these moments of anxiety. And I love the way that she reframed anxiety for both parents and children.
Yeah, I definitely still got nervous when I was young. And that's just because I cared about what I was about to do and didn't know what I might be about to do. And so the nerves are actually the same, whether I was at a state level meet or through to when I eventually was at an Olympic. So I think it's reframing it in your head and seeing the nerves as a good thing. The nerves are like little bouts of energy that you can use in your race, and nerves are showing you that you care. Nerves are showing you that you're doing something brave and worthwhile. And I think it's reframing it in more of a positive way.
Kylie, so sensible, isn't it?
Yeah, I love what she said. Nerves are showing you that you're doing something brave and worthwhile. A handful of years ago, I took myself off to a health retreat. And as part of that, there was a challenge for me to do something outside my comfort zone. You know those telegraph poles?
Oh, yeah, they're up and down most streets.
Yeah.
I know what a telegraph pole is.
Well, have you ever climbed one?
I don't want to sound like I've had a misspent youth, but actually, yes. Yes, I have. And
So when you see a telegraph pole, it looks solid.
yeah.
Like it's solid
Yeah, and high.
and high.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea was I had to climb to the top of the telegraph pole, and on the top of the telegraph pole was a platform just big enough for two feet side by side.
I've climbed this one. They're really hard to climb onto, huh? Like when you get to the top, you've got to somehow limber your body up onto the platform.
Yes, and the whole momentum of you is actually going over, and almost you're going to fall off.
We should quickly highlight you were tethered to like
I was
abseiling
harnessed.
gear. Yeah,
yes.
harnessed in. Yeah.
Yes, but what I didn't know was looking at this ridiculously thick, solid pole was that the further you went up, it was no longer solid. There was a lot more movement than I ever expected at the top.
Oh, so it's solid, but it's moving. Is
It
what you
moves,
mean. Yeah, gotcha.
yes. Yeah. And part of the process was learning to breathe. It was a really important part of the process, and I didn't understand it until I was up there. As we watched other people doing it, you could see if they were anxious and their breath was going fast, then the pole actually wobbled at a really fast rate. But if they could get their breath under control, the pole stopped moving.
So control the anxiety and control the movement of the pole.
Yeah.
And have more success.
So visually powerful. So I got up and I thought, I've got this. I can do this. This is hard, but I can do it. But I got to the top where I had to take my feet off the pole itself and put it onto the platform. And that's where I started to fall apart. And for nearly 10 minutes, everybody sat at the bottom in absolute quiet while I fought against the anxiety and fear I was feeling.
Right.
I finally did do it. And the sense of achievement was insane. It was amazing. I felt so accomplished as a result of doing it.
So the idea is you climb to the pole, you stand up on it, and then you jump off.
I've got to jump off it. That was big too.
Yeah.
But after that, everyone who went after me, they scaled it. 40 seconds, maybe a couple of minutes. Like everybody else got through it very quickly. I was definitely the longest. But what I learned out of that experience was that sometimes when our kids are in that tricky space, she talked about nerves showing us that we're doing something brave. When they're in that tricky space, we often fill that space with unnecessary noise. We call it encouragement. But what they actually need is our quiet patience. And what I had at the bottom of that pole was a coach who literally just every now and again would just go, just take a deep breath, Kylie. Just take a deep breath. There was no at any point acknowledgement that I couldn't do it, but there was the space and the quiet to allow me to work through that emotion.
I love that you're touched by that. I love that even as you reflect on that, just having that space, the fact that people had respect for your anxiety and they gave you the space to work through it, but you also had that one person who was the voice of reason, the voice of comfort and reassurance. I love that story. Anxiety, it's normal, it's healthy, it's natural, it's designed to help us. Dr. Lisa DeMoore talks about how we have a cognitive board of directors in our brain, but we cannot let emotion, particularly anxiety, chair the board. The entire interview is absolutely fascinating. Emma McKeon was very generous in talking with me for about 30 to 40 minutes. We would love for you to hear the whole thing. So we're dropping it into your feed on Saturday morning so you can listen while you run errands or shop or have that walk. The walk that I usually do on a Saturday morning is behind the lawnmower. Hope you enjoy listening to the episode on Saturday morning. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. If you like the podcast, can we invite you to take 20 seconds out of your day? It's literally that quick. 20 seconds. Leave us a rating and review. We like the 5-star ones the best, by the way. They genuinely help people to find the show and make their family happier. We are Justin and Kylie Coulson. Resources and ideas to help your family thrive are available at happyfamilies.com.au.